This is the most intense editing process that I've ever done in my 8 years of doing photography. How did I get here? Hey everyone, I go by VLauren on social media, but you can call me Victoria, and welcome back to another installation of A Month of Sundays. It's crazy to me how I reach these milestones every time I take an unintentional break from creating and uploading content. But I have crossed over the threshold or milestone of 1,000 subscribers. And the subscriptions keep going up. It's like I'm humbled and I'm also fascinated by this. But I'm very grateful for everybody who has subscribed. So if you're new here, welcome. So if you don't know, this series is kind of like my fill in the gap series for when I personally miss uploading on the deadline that I would like. So usually there's only really 2 reasons why I would miss publishing or producing content. The primary reason is because I'm busy with photography, and the other reason would be I just physically cannot film. So that was only like one time where I just lost my voice, and I didn't want to trouble anybody by filming an ASMR type of video. Hey, I go by VLauren on social media. I wanted to spare you from that type of experience, so anyways, but it's not because I lost my voice. Primarily it's because I have been super busy, in a good way, blessed, but busy with photography, which has inhibited my ability to actually edit the videos that I do film. So I have a backlog of footage that I want to edit and hopefully to get out soon. My uploading schedule has kind of been, at least currently, every other week, which by the way, I think that's going to become my thing, maybe every other week to upload content to give myself some buffer in the event that I get busy with photography. But I do want to make sure that the content that I'm producing is qualitative. Initially, I was focused on quantity, just getting everything out, but now I'm focused on quality. And that's what I'm going to stick with as I'm entering into this stage of YouTube. I only started to actively post last year, so I haven't even made it to a full year of doing YouTube. But things seem to be going swimmingly. I mean, you're here, so I know it's going well. In this episode, I'm going to take you behind the scenes with me as I balance the busy days behind the camera. I try not to overbook myself. I like to leave some days in between bookings so that it can give me, oh, wait a minute. If you don't know, I am pursuing photography in 4 ways. 1, as a business owner. 2, as a staff photographer. 3, as a freelancer. And 4, as a hobbyist. So initially, as of 2025, I've been doing photography for 8 years. So initially, photography started as a hobbyist pursuit. And along the way, I was able to make connections and relationships in a way that I can then be assigned or get hired for freelance work and opportunities. Then it eventually developed into me launching out and starting a small photography business, ultimately earning a staff photography position. Recently, busy with back-to-back days of shooting, specifically 4 consecutive days of work. Now, the thing is, for some people, that just might be the norm. Like, I know a photographer who had to do 3 events in one day. I'm like, God bless you. For me, doing 4 consecutive days of photography is a lot because photography is not my full-time job. It wasn't unmanageable or unbearable because I came in with a plan, which I want to talk to you, and this is what this episode is going to be about. It's going to show you my pre-shoot and post-shoot process, my entire workflow as a photographer over these 4 days of consecutive shooting. So I'm bouncing back between Jersey, Queens, Jersey, Manhattan, back to Jersey. Initially, it was going to be 5 consecutive days of shooting, but one of the events got pushed to another day. So, which I'm really grateful for because it gave me that buffer to edit. So here's my pre-shoot and post-shoot for 4 consecutive days of shooting. First was Fan Week at the US Open, second Community Day, third Sunday service, and fourth concert. Before I actually embarked on taking these photos, there were some accessories that I had to buy to help make life easier for myself as a photographer. So, all right, so given the fact that I'm gonna be taking pictures at a sporting event, community event, church service, and concert, what kind of equipment or gear did you think that I bought to help assist on those days? Okay, so now I'm not a sponsored girly, but I did invest in a second flash because I'm really gonna try to figure out my lighting setup for the concert show that I have to photograph. So that's box number 1. Also have this package here. Since I got the flash, what else do you think I got? Iris. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Opening this in real time makes sense. And I got a wireless trigger with it. So 2 and 2 is supposed to help me out for my events where the lighting is not exceptional. All right, cool. So this is ND filters. Okay, very important. So I have an ND filter, trigger, and then also flash. I'm not sponsored, so they don't get the credit. I'm just kidding. If you ask me in the comments, I will tell you. Okay, so last but not least, appreciate your help. All right, so what do you think this big box contains? Okay. Okay. Wow, they really packed this thing in here. Okay. You know what it is? You guess? Let me know in the comments. Okay. So, I got a camera bag for myself. Laptop camera stabilizer. Ooh, okay. So, reason why I got a camera bag is because I actually really don't have a camera bag. I initially had gotten a camera bag from Amazon. The strap started to tear, and I used that bag for like about, was it 2 to 3 years? And then I went on a trip to Jamaica, and I have been using that bag. And that bag is not it's not a camera bag. It comes with a little small camera bag, and I just use that, and I would just put my 70 to 200 in the larger compartment, but it's not like a real camera bag. It's just a travel bag. And I knew eventually that I needed to get another camera bag, but I wasn't really trying to spend a whole bunch of money because it's just a bag, you can always get a bag. So I invested in getting a new bag to hold my gear and equipment in it. So this is what I bought. Ask me the brand, I don't know. So I'm probably gonna get this bag ready for Sunday service and then to photograph the concert. And the thing is though, my intention for the US Open is to travel very light. Cause at the US Open, they have their bag limits and policies, 1 bag per person, no backpacks.
You know, if you do have a backpack, it has to be like a drawstring backpack. So I don't have any intentions of like bringing a whole bunch of equipment with me. If anything, I'm just gonna keep it to one lens, one body. That's it, and not too much. Because I mean, in the past, like I've brought with me like I think 2 bodies and, you know, 2 lens, or I did like 1 body, 2 lenses. But this time around, just keeping it very simple with 1 lens, because I have a self assignment for taking photographs at the US Open.
So going to the US Open has kind of become a tradition for my mom and I, something that, you know, us girls like to do for fun, whether it's going to fan week or actually watching, you know, any round of the tournament. So it's more of a hobbyist thing for me to go to the US Open and take pictures. My specialty is not in sports photography. If anything, I would say that I am a lifestyle / documentary photographer. So if I am to do sports photography, I'm going to take a very documentary style, even like photojournalistic approach when it comes to documenting sports. I like to put myself under the umbrella of being a documentary photographer because it gives me opportunities to photograph a variety of events. That's why like my experience at the US Open is always fun. I always look forward to going to see like what kind of assignments I can give to myself. And I feel like having a hobbyist genre as a photographer is essential because you need a creative outlet. And if you are pursuing it professionally, you should also have photography as a creative outlet. So it's like you don't really get rusty, you don't get tired of doing it. And it's something that you could generally do for fun without the pressure of thinking of it as like, this is work. Since I've been going for a number of years, my collection of images has continued to grow. And slowly but surely, I started to see this story emerging across these years of photography. And one person that I have been inspired by on this platform has been Chris Chu and his long form projects, his long form documentary projects, whether it's documenting his culture or if it's basketball. And watching his process has definitely been inspirational for me, that every single year I go to the US Open, I'm always giving myself an assignment of something to photograph or to pull different stories out of what I'm seeing. In due time, I would like to put these collection of images together to tell that story. In what medium that will be, I don't know. If it's going to be in the form of a video or if it's going to be an actual booklet, I have no idea yet. But like, I have a working title for it, and it's like I can see the story weaving together throughout the years as I, you know, document each year. So this year I wanted to travel lightly, and I only brought with me my R6 Mark II and 85mm lens. And I'm pretty satisfied with what I captured. Now, I can't show you everything. I'm gonna show you just a little sprinkle of something. I can't show you everything because I'm going to actually use all of that footage and the photos that I captured for another series on this channel, which is coming very soon. So I haven't even gone through the process of editing them. The only thing I've done is imported them. That aside, I do have to prepare for this community event. So tomorrow is going to be a very sunny day. And as you saw in preparation for this community event, I got ND filters. Me and ND filters. We don't really have that much of a history, okay? I rarely have used ND filters. And recently in my work, I've been incorporating shooting at a slower shutter speed, especially like even incorporating that in some of like my church work, and you know, but I've only really been successful with using like that on like tambourines. Anyway, but I want to incorporate more of that motion into my work. this has become an imperative. I did this brand shoot and I had this idea of creating like these stop motion blur, slower shutter type of visuals. I was shooting in harsh lighting conditions. It was midday, and to compensate for that, I shot at a very narrow aperture. Because my aperture was like around maybe like f/18 or like f/20, I experienced what is called diffraction. Essentially, diffraction is an optical effect where if you are shooting at a smaller or narrow aperture, it can cause your images to look soft or blurred and out of focus or lose resolution. Because one of the mistakes that I think can easily be made is thinking that the aperture is going to make your images sharp because you're getting more in focus. But with diffraction, the opposite kind of happens, is that the higher the f-stop, your image can become out of focus or look soft and not look as sharp. So the key for not dealing with this distortion or optical effect is that you don't push the aperture to like f/18, f/20. But for the shot that I was going for, I kind of was like pushing it, you know, because there was so much light coming into the sensor and I was photographing the models backlit. So having this on deck would get rid of that diffraction, because what the ND filter does is that it blocks some of that light from hitting my sensor, so I can shoot at a lower aperture. The more you know. I don't normally talk about this stuff during a pre-shoot. But here I am. Okay, here I am. I don't anticipate getting a lot of like those type of creative, slower shutter type of photos for the community event. Done. Typically what I like to do is that the same day, the same night of the event, I immediately import the photos into Lightroom. So it's fresh in my mind. I have a decent recollection of the photos that I intend to use and the photos that I intend to discard of. And on top of that, by selecting the photos I want to import in Lightroom, it helps me with my culling process. One thing that I like to do when I get downtime during an event is that I like to go through or skim through as much of the photos as I possibly can and delete what I don't want, because it cuts down on my culling process. Anytime I have to do an event, it's always crunch time. But this is not like a high pressure type of thing where I gotta do like a really quick turnaround or same day delivery type of thing. So I can take a little bit more time with that. But because I know I still have to do a Sunday service and then the concert, I know that like I want to create space on my SD card and make sure I can delete these images because I have them safely stored. And even though I have like other SD cards, I do like to try to keep my SD cards clean. Things have been kind of messy with my SD cards because, again, just kind of back to back, and there's like a backlog and things are building up. But I want to make sure that these photos are safely stored and secured. I can begin the editing process. So what I like to do is that I like to edit in the dark. So at night, it's kind of easy. All lights off. During the daytime, close the shades as much as I can. Reason why I do that is because of the glare that I sometimes get with the lighting on the screen. But anyway, so looking at these images, I have plenty of presets, but there's only like a few presets that I think fit with the colors of the image. So all the photos that I shoot, I color grade and color correct them. It's not complete unless it's color graded. I think one thing is like finding consistency among the color grading, which is a little bit difficult with some of these images. So my method for editing these photos entails copying and pasting a preset. I look for the images in the gallery that have similar lighting conditions as the other, so that I can copy and paste the presets onto the images and make very little color corrections to them. Some images were taken in shaded areas, so the first photograph that I apply the preset to for that image in the shaded area, I am then going to copy and paste it on all the other images that were taken in the shaded areas. And then I will do the same for the photos that were taken in brightly lit areas and the photos that were taken indoors. So we have consistency across the board when it comes to the color grading. So my goal is to have these photos finished before I have to do the concert. Oh, but let's talk about this thing. There was actually one shot that I was attempting to go for that really employed the use of these, which was like doing like kind of like a slow shutter type of shot, getting the motion of the kids playing musical chairs. I did that and I used the ND filter and I experienced cross polarization, which is kind of like that X. And I wasn't gonna try to sit there and problem solve all that. If I'm just being honest, I'm like, I got all the photos that I needed. I'm like, this is just a bonus. This is just for fun now. Outside of that, I was able to, you know, kind of like adjust the sky, you know, the look of the sky, you know, using the ND filter. So I kept it on the whole time, but the only time that I really felt like I wanted to use it was for getting that shot. And I was like, it's not my intention to finish all these photos tonight because I have to pack my new bag and get it ready for Sunday service. So this is my new camera bag. So I have to get my new bag packed and ready for Sunday service. This has a lot of compartments, which I really like. Rain cover, there's compartments in here. My current kit consists of having a 16 to 35. Then I have a 24 to 70. Then my favorite lens of all time, can you guess what it is? The 85. And this is a lens I've been using the most because my 70 to 200 is not working. Flash. I rarely use flashes in church. I can literally count on my hand how many times I've used flash. I'll just keep these here and here. This little pouch, use it to store my wireless transmitter. Then I have my R8. I don't use this as much. This just serves as a backup camera. I'm missing my main camera. Oh, hold on. So, now it's time to edit the photos from the church service. First things first, import straight into Lightroom. I'm doing a same day turnaround and delivery on the photos. I already have presets, so for me, this is just a matter of copy and paste with fine tweaking. How fast I finish editing these photos is really dependent on my ability to push through and not get bored while editing. So like when I edit, I either like to watch a TV show, YouTube commentary, or listen to worship music. The reason why I like to watch or listen to something while I edit, it might sound strange, but it's a way to divide my concentration. When editing is becoming boring or redundant, watching a show actually keeps me engaged with the editing process because I can quickly take my eyes off of Lightroom and watch the scene that is happening and then go back to editing. The reason why I watch something I've already seen before is so that I can check out of a scene if it's not interesting to me and go back to editing. So there's a method to my madness. I usually end up delivering around anywhere in the range of like 100 to like say 170 photos. It honestly depends on like what happens during the church service. So I'm done with the church edits. I start getting ready for the concert. So in preparation for any event that I have to photograph, I always take a look at the photos taken at a venue. For this particular venue, I've never been there before. And I've been studying its Instagram pages and the photos that have been taken at this location. Out of all the photos on the page, only a handful that I'm like, that was good. It doesn't tell me anything about the photographers and how they photographed there, but it tells me a lot about the venue in that the lighting must be very difficult to work with. As you saw, I bought a second flash. I really don't like to shoot with flash. And I've heard it said that people who don't like to shoot with flash because they're not good at shooting with flash. That's not it. I just don't like flash because for me, I am a candid photographer, but I know for this venue, I'm gonna have to utilize flash. In lieu of this, I have a lot of saved photos and videos related to photography on Instagram. And there's one particular video I had saved, and I said one day this video is gonna help me. And today is that day. So there's this photographer by the name, I really hope I'm probably gonna mess up the pronunciation. Elena Kostromina. It's gonna be one of those. Elena, one of those. Kostromina. And I saved these videos of her where she was using the flash, and I liked how the photos came out as a result of her flash technique. Actually, what I bought in addition to my flash is a softbox diffuser. I have a plan when it comes to the flash. It's just a matter of, for the candid moments, if I'm going to utilize the flash to document those moments. So we'll see about that. It's time for us to go. All right, so I finished editing all of the photos from the community event before I headed off to the concert. So now that I'm back, it's time for me to jump right into editing these concert photos. I have 2 deadlines for these images, a quick turnaround for social media galleries, just taking, I wouldn't say the best of the best, but just highlights and editing those and delivering those, and then coming back and finishing the rest of the gallery to send off at a later date. I already knew ahead of time, because I studied the images taken at this particular venue, that the lighting was going to be challenging to work with. And it was. But it wasn't that much of a challenge because I have experience as a church photographer. My background working and doing church photography has given me that confidence that if I go into these low light environments, I can use my camera and still be able to capture and document the scene, because the lighting constantly shifted throughout the show. Like, on stage lighting was fine. Crowd lighting, this is why when I studied the photos of the venue, I noticed the trend that a lot of the crowd photos, heavy flash was used. And I understand why heavy flash was used, but I was able to photograph the crowd without using heavy flash. Now, the downside of not using flash is that you lose people's natural pigmentation, because the light emitted from the flash gives people their natural skin tones. However, I want to deliver a mix of photos that show people's natural complexion, but then also showcase the vibe that is exhibited through the various lighting of the venue. With that, though, comes knowing how to expose in dimly or low lit environments. The benefit of working with, at least for me, working with mirrorless systems, like even going back to when I had the Canon RP, have a Canon R8, I have a Canon R6 Mark II, these cameras work well in low lighting. So when it came to shooting in this lowly lit environment, primarily using my R6 Mark II, I knew it can handle. Even if the images may have looked completely black on screen, I said, because I am shooting with RAW, maybe let this be a case for RAW, but because I'm shooting in RAW and not JPEG, I know I can recover this photo in post. If you've watched my episode, The Truth About Color Grading, part of my Still Good series, I talked about why I like to shoot in RAW. And this is one of the reasons why, is because you're giving your system all the data to work with. So as you probably know, based upon the last few days of photography, that I like to edit in the dark. Now, one thing to make note of is that I'm not using any of the presets that I have. I have so many presets in Lightroom, and none of them can be used for these images. Because I'm not using any presets, I'm just looking at the images as they are and just pushing the colors in any direction. So I'm pretty much using every single color correcting, color grading feature in Lightroom at my disposal to get images that can reflect not only the lighting and the vibe that it created, but also get normal skin tones of the performers and of the people in the crowd. So my goal with these set of photos is to try to get as close to a brown pigmentation of the singer's complexion as possible. So I'm really aiming towards yellows, oranges, and greens. And then I'm allowing the masking tool for the background to give me those blue, pink tones that match the lighting of the stage. And one thing that you need to pay attention to when you are color grading and color correcting are the color profiles of your images. There's a difference between Adobe Standard, Adobe Portrait, Adobe Neutral. But for these photos, I'm going to be using some of the more creative profiles. So this is why I'm using some of the vintage or even modern profiles so that the colors can blend between the masked background and the actual image itself. So what I'm really doing is that I'm just experimenting with the hues, with the tones, with the colors to try to get the look that I want. So there really isn't like a step 1, step 2, step 3 process. It's literally push all the colors as far as I can. Compared to all of my other edits that I've done in these past few days at the community event or the church service, I could just slap a preset on and keep pushing. But for these images, each image requires a certain level of devoted time to editing, going through each one of them to try to get the color that I want. However, I'm actually having fun with this process because it's allowing me to be creative and I'm experimenting with all of these different features. I've never utilized Lightroom color grading tools in this capacity before. It's the fact that I'm even able to convert these images to get normal skin tones that does it for me. Like, I would love to hear your thoughts on what do you think about my process for color grading these images. Is there something you would have done differently? But this is just my experimental process for editing these concert photos. I've done concerts before. I've done outdoor concerts, indoor concerts before, but this is the first set of photos that I've ever edited in this manner. Let me know, what are your thoughts about how these images came out? Thanks for watching. If you made it to the end, thank you. I appreciate you. Yep. I think we're good.
Welcome back.